Hey everyone, my name is Badenhorst. Welcome. So I just want to give a little information about myself. You might have been following along on the YouTube posts that I've been doing or on the blog, those Bible studies, Instagram, Facebook. And so I want to share where I am, where I'm coming from, and in essence, why I am doing what I'm doing. Now, you might pick up a little bit of accent. That's a little bit Texan and a little bit South African, and that's because I'm South African born and raised in Texas, just in the Dallas area of the States. Now, I'm here in South Africa now because partly because that's just my heart and my blood is always felt at home here in South Africa, but it was a journey getting here. My upbringing was one that I can't say was perfect, but one that wasn't all bad. It's just that my dad created some traumas in me. My family dynamic created traumas in me. I'm the youngest of three boys, and there comes benefits to that, including being very perceptive, but a lot of that perceptiveness has come from just the survival nature of my upbringing. It was an environment that had physical, mental, emotional, and sexual abuse. And that's also part of my healing. So, this is a complex childhood PTSD life that I'm living and unlearning, healing, and delving into. And a lot of my trauma even stems from I would call Christian abuses or, dogmatic church abuses and going through a whole deconstruction and rethinking of that. Not that I've dismissed Christianity, but I just see it in a different way than was trained in me. This is why a lot of my Bible studies is to take away the religion from from the Bible and put back in relationship with the Father. And for me, having a dad I couldn't trust, I projected that on God as my father. So there was just no way I was going to have any kind of intimate relationship with God, let alone consider him in as a father. But that all changed when I was about 38 years old and hearing that kind of different message to the hell and brimstone and thou shalt not do that I grew up with, and how that even influenced how I personalized my own, upbringing traumas. And that upbringing for me even goes back to the womb where, hey, my dad wanted a girl. So right then, it's almost like from in the womb felt that rejection. And, growing up, being the youngest and feeling like I'm the most emotional out of the family, I would say neurodiverse, that came with its own set of quirks and uniquenesses that really took maybe more, felt more of the abuse than I needed to or wanted to, but that is my reality. Now, at the age of 3, moved to the States, grew up there, had just, I don't know, I just felt like I was never heard or believed, and the intimidation from my dad kept me from wanting to speak out, kept me from contact and want of intimacy, even though, yeah, there was some of that. There was the fun times and the playing and the bonding that was with my dad, but for me, I took out from that wounds that overshadow the good things. And so I'm learning about those aspects about myself. And my biggest survival technique is fawning. And then from that, the people pleasing that comes in to protect myself. So all the things that were trained in me religiously or just as an upbringing from the age of 38, I've started unraveling. First, understanding that my upbringing was traumatic, big T and little t trauma. It was complex. It happened in my childhood. It did stunt a lot of my uh, mental or physical brain growth. But I know that trauma played a role in my own physical body in other ways. My mom would say that even as a young child, say 2 years old, not knowing how to cope with the trauma, which she didn't know it then, I would sit on the couch and I'd just bang the back of my head into the wall. I self-regulate by a lot of rocking motions and the bouncing of my leg and things like that. That's been around me for my whole life. I feel most of my trauma focused itself in my jaw in itself, not necessarily like the clenching of the teeth, but that it also restricted the growth of my jaw. And that's been one of those shame aspects of my physical appearance is that I grew up with a jaw that was too small for my teeth to come in, and so then they came in back to front, and there was no space, and so that was a lot of dentistry and orthodontics, that didn't even fix that. Plus, I had skin conditions with acne that lasted into my adulthood, and I mean, just all kinds of body issues because my whole upbringing was grounded in shame and guilt, and I still have those senses and I still have those feelings that impact me that I have been pushing into, and a lot of that, the body issues I've been pushing into a lot of healing through different, you know, touch groups and breathing and expressing, um, finding ways to express confidence in myself, surrounding myself with safe people as well. But I'm doing that in all the different areas of my life. Safety is key. Um, done a lot of counseling, psychology, psychiatrists, but then opened myself to exploring psychedelics even from a year ago, and just embracing different ways that healing comes about. Lots of self-help books and a lot of memes to read and all the stuff that pushing into that makes me, not feel like I'm alone or like my head would just say, that like there's just something wrong with you, Chris. There's something wrong with you. So then it's like, oh, like, oh, I can relate to this person and I can relate to myself because I see what that other person is going through, whether they're talking about their own, ADHD quirks or spectrum quirks and things like that. And that's not to say that I am specifically that or diagnose that, but I just see some of those things and relate to some of those things to say, wow, I'm not alone. And it helped me. And in a way, as I'm learning about myself, because I've never actually done that, learning about emotions because I shut off emotions because emotions, feelings were evil, not just because of the religious connotation, but even growing up and in high school, like I'm an artist, I'm a creator, and learning about all these wonderful artists and then like hearing like, oh man, they had messed up lives. And so I'm like, their artwork is so emotional, but I'm not going to let out my emotions because the emotions means I'm going to go crazy and poor Van Gogh cut off his ear. But that was my youthful thinking, not realizing that the art wasn't what caused that, or the expression of emotions or allowance of emotions didn't cause that. It was that their life reality and the emotions from their life reality created, their conditions and created, manifested their art. And that's just beautiful. And even that, a new understanding of that freed me. But I couldn't even put words and understandings to emotions. That's why I say I learned emotions sitting in a counselor's office at the age of 39 years old. And so decades of me wanting to be a Vulcan and not wanting to have emotions, but at the same time longing and wishing for the freedom of emotions and the freedom for expression, but that religious aspect of thou shalt not do kept me from being free, kept me from doing the things that I inherently long to do, but shut down my body to do. And that's shown up in other different physical forms of shutdown where I've programmed my body not to respond in a certain way. And now that I'm actually feel more free to respond in a certain way, my body's like, no, you've trained me not to. So as I learn about myself and as I undo religion and dogma, that's what I want to share with you openly because either I hope that you catch it early enough in your own life that you can say, oh, I can avoid those things in my life. Or maybe you hear me talk about things and you can say, hey, I've gone through the same thing. So you also don't feel alone. Or maybe it's just you are trying to get out of it and you're like, oh, that's helpful to know this information or see things in a different way. And that's really all I want is to be able to just openly share what I'm going through that you may feel in your own way healed and free. Freedom. This is I'm seeking freedom for myself, and I want you to have freedom as well because that's what the Lord designed us for, not to be locked into religious do's and don'ts, but to be open in relationship with the Father and allowing the healing that he wants you to have in any way to have it and not feel guilty of like, oh, I can only heal ways that are like preached to me, from the pulpit or in the Bible. No, go. The healing is greater than how you got healed. So embrace all the different aspects of healing without a religious worry about, oh, I'm offending God or, he's going to strike me down. So that's really a lot of what my Bible studies are. So my my provisions of grace uh, aspect and ministry side that's there, tackles that biblical stuff. But even on my cBadenhorst missions, blog is more handling not only some of that religious stuff, but the emotional things of life as well, the mental and emotional healing that we so desire. So that's really what I want. I desire for you to discover your freedom, your personal freedom out of what is keeping you, those strongholds that are keeping you that you want to really want to get rid of, maybe don't know how, or maybe don't understand the things that you do need healing from, because that was my journey. So what my journey was that brought me to South Africa was marriage and ministry and outreach that all happened, but then marriage fell apart. And I learned from that the things about me that didn't belong. I go back to the fawning and people pleasing. It That aspect of my life was so natural. That was my tendency. And then to come out of a devastating divorce process to say, Chris, look what your fawning and people pleasing aspects did to jeopardize your marriage and be a part of why the divorce happened. And delving into myself with that, with this new understanding, with this aha moment of like, oh, that's what the Lord's been working on me for so long that I didn't. didn't fully comprehend, and now I can comprehend it. Now I can see the damage. In my childhood, that fawning was my survival, and that aspect of survival played into a traumatic event that happened that led to the divorce. And so, what kept me safe as a child destroyed me as an adult, and just aspects of that. And I still push into my relationship, a newer relationship with the Lord that I never had before. So even that eye-openingness of safety that is God as a father is amazing to me. And so for myself, who trapped himself in the biblical way of doing things that I've come to understand isn't the biblical way, isn't the God way of doing things, just unraveling that to set me free in so many areas as well. And that's important to me. My journey of healing is lifelong, and it's not easy. It sucks. It's reliving past experiences and things that I've done or things that have happened to me that are not comfortable. But once I push into that, I find freedom on the other side of the anxiety and of the fear. And there's so many aspects of my life that are so knotted or intertwined together that it's not just one thing that sets me free, but I have to kind of pull a little bit of this string loose and pull a little bit of this string loose to undo a lot to get to that freedom. And really, it means a lot. And that relationship with the Lord, for me, with his longing for my freedom, because he sees more so on what traps me and has kept me trapped all these years. And I could just sense the joy that he gets when I break free from something in my life. And yeah, you deserve that too. So thank you for following along with me, understanding aspects about me, and I really do care what you're going through to set you free from. So yeah, I do hope what I share helps, and if not, that's okay too. All right. So God bless, and thank you so much. And please always find, follow, like, and subscribe. If you want to donate, you're welcome to donate, give to us, and God bless. All right. Bye.